What's going on, guys? Bladezilla here, and today I am taking a look at this gorgeous Machinewise Sonora. I've had a couple of these kind of come through now, and I decided, you know what, I should probably grab one, preferably one that's plain Jane-ish, which for Machinewise seems to be a little less far between. They really funkify their stuff and make it pretty cool. Lots of colors, lots of textures, some pattern work, and I think, you know, this is one that I've been trying to track down myself personally for quite some time. So decided to grab one and at least do a video on it, talk about it, because I just think these knives are so fantastic, offering tremendous value, American made, and to boot, a full integral titanium handle. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a cup of coffee, cold beer, wine, whatever you're kind of feeling, depending on the time of the day, obviously responsibly, and let's enjoy this knife together, because it's been a long time coming. And I've got also their newer model here. I think it's called the Mojave or something. I got that here as well to compare it to, so we'll do another video on that obviously at some point, but for the time being I wanted to get a Sonora video done. So as a reminder, guys, check out bladezilla.ca. That's my website here in Canada. Lots of good stuff. Still have, sorry, I shouldn't say still have, just added a teal magnetic carbo tie Tanto small and cozy. I still have some Thai Microtechs, Cybonic Plagues, Giros, geez, a couple Machinewise in purple, pink, kind of cool fades. Lots of good stuff on their sites. Koenigs, Striders, geez, the CKF, TRM, Kilo, geez, there's so much stuff on there. Check it out, bladezilla.ca. But we're not here to talk about bladezilla.ca. We're here to have a cup of coffee and take a look at this gorgeous integral. So a couple things that I did want to show that's unique to Machinewise is I don't normally ever do this. I want to show you the case that it came in, because this is super unique. So I'm going to move the knife to the side here for a sec. So this is kind of how they come in this screw together little capsule. And I'm going to show you the COA of this particular one, because they're all individually numbered. They're all one-offs essentially. So here's this particular one, 1456. So you have a S90V blade on it, 63.2 hardness rating. So I don't know, blade finish, light wash, it looks like. Diamond texture, which is the milling. Sunset tie bolster, which is kind of that fade on there, which is quite nice. Sunset tie clip, raw tie body, and GH is the person doing the final QC, and this was made in September 2025. So just, geez, not even a couple weeks ago. Geez, not long ago at all. So there you go, really cool. This whole thing screws together. It's labeled with some, looks like painter's tape or something with the serial number, and then this all screws together into a nice little capsule. Really cool. Don't normally get this kind of stuff. In addition to that, okay, you get this little COA card. No corners cut. Pivot is torqued to this. 10 inch-pounds for factory spec, properly retorque. During disassembly and reassembly, take care to note maintain washer facing. Inside, pretty cool. And they give you a 20-degree edge angle. Nice. Super cool. And then a little card talking about knife to meet you. Blah, blah, blah. You can pause and read that. I'm not going to read that because I have a kindergarten education. I'm just kidding. But anyway, and then the sticker itself, Machinewise, which I guess you could kind of go either way. Is it which way is their logo? Is it an MW or is it small m, big W? I don't know. Sticker. And then inside here, another really cool thing. So very similar to kind of how some of the Grimsmos come with some oil, right? Some graphene. Is that what says graphene? Graphene pivot lubricant. If you're into cycling, by the way, graphene's all the rage right now. It's like a really nano particle that's really good for lubrication, and they put it on bike chains and motocross chains and stuff right now, and it lasts a very long time, and it's super slippery. So graphene pivot, and it's actually very expensive as well. So it comes with a little bottle of that. And then you also have this really cool feature here. It says, this was your bolster. So that's part of the knife that was cut out during manufacturing, and that was your bolster. How cool is that? And I've seen a couple of them come through with, some of them are like just different materials, and that's a cool little detail. And then some hardware There's some tools to take it apart, work on it, and then this just sits inside here, slides in and kind of locks in. So really cool detail in the case. Something that I certainly don't see every day, and I see a lot of different knives and brands, and I think there's two trains of thought to that. Is one, you know, that costs a lot of money to do. You could argue, well, why don't you put that, say it's, I don't know what wholesale cost on a plastic case with a tool and all that, yeah, maybe, geez, 25 bucks to do that. Why don't you put that into the knife? Maybe they do, I don't know. I think it's a cool detail, and if you're a collector, I think it's while they're doing it, because I'm sure at some point with, have you heard the term shrinkflation? That'll just kind of go away. And if you look at some of the other big producers, look at Shirgorov. You can get a $5,000 knife, and it comes in a cardboard box. That's it, with a towel. So super, super cool. In terms of this, so we have that sunset tie, so you can see there's an ano fade on that bolster, right? Really cool. It's a button lock, and that's a very nicely milled surface. Flipper tab, plenty forward of center. And to me, just profile-wise, this feels very much like a Malibu in hand. And I might have to grab a Malibu. I've got, let's see, I'll grab a Malibu to do a comparison, because there's a lot of similarities to them. So let's do that now. We'll grab a Malibu. Well, you know what, let's do measurements, and then we'll do some knife comparisons, and we'll put a Malibu as part of that. Just because this is the first time I've done a Machinewise knife, let's get a measurement on this guy and see kind of where we're coming in at. But I get Malibu vibes. So 7 3/4 overall length, with a blade that appears to be 3 1/4 sharp, maybe 3 3/8 to the center of that choil. And then handle-wise, 4 1/4 as well. Really good size. And I don't think anything sticks out. No. So that handle measurement should remain the same closed. Just for reference, in case we do want to see it, there you go. Because sometimes my tape measure is all over the place, but yeah, 4 3/8, 4 1/4, somewhere in that range for that whole handle, which is nice. We'll do a weight as well. And remember, it's an integral, so very difficult, if not impossible, to remove material from the inside unless you're very creative with kind of how you do that. There's exceptions to every rule, and but typically no one's pulling material from the inside of an integral. Typically. We're very limited. Okay, it feels 4 ounce-ish, 3.5 ounce-ish. 3.3. Oh, geez, lighter than I was expecting. Is that really? 3.2, 3.3. Okay, great. That's right in the ballpark. That's exactly where you want to be for that blade length. For the inches to ounces ratio, that's exactly where you want to be. And knife comparison-wise, well, let's go into it. And first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, let's grab the new release for these guys. This is the, I think it's called the Mojave. And this one will be going up at some point here. They all kind of come in a batch, and I have to kind of go through them and catalog them, etc. And it takes some time to do these. So I haven't put one of these up on the site yet, but this will be the next release coming up following this Machinewise. So pretty cool knife. Haven't spent any time with it. Like I said, I definitely want to spend some time with it, do a video, talk about it, because it's their newer model. So I imagine there's going to be some technology, I don't want to say improvements, but adjustments, right? It's a liner or frame lock instead of button lock. So there's just a lot to talk about on it. Ooh, I love how that lock bar is elevated. That's not what this knife is, or this video is about. So just for comparison and size discussion, let's put the two together so you can kind of see the Mojave is obviously a much different size knife in ergonomics, but overall very similar. Just a little bit longer, more of a Warney style blade on there, but really you can kind of get a taste of the brand with what they're doing. Well made stuff. And I'm very curious to see, because it's a relatively young company, so I'm curious to see where they kind of go with a lot of their designs, etc. So we'll grab a Malibu here, and as I scurry to open one, just because everyone always says that, oh, this is basically an integral version of a Malibu. Well, the Malibu is certainly a nice EDC, but it is also a much smaller handle, I believe. So let's get that kind of here. And there we go. Here's a blue. Which one is this? I think it's just a classic smooth blue Malibu. There you go. For reference, I can give you the model number. It's a 5401 blue, and they also do 5401 black, which is basically just a stonewash blade, blue smooth handle. So this, can we see why a lot of people think that they're very, very similar? Like look at them. Button lock, flippers, right? Made in US. There's a lot of comparisons here that we can make, but in hand, I would say they're two completely different beasts. Obviously the Malibu, they do a couple different blade configurations and grinds and stuff. But, you know, button lock, flipper, I can see why people think that. I would say this one's quite a bit bigger in the handle, quite a bit taller overall up top, but it doesn't change the fact that you have a cutout and then a nice swooping long handle, a little more rounded on the Malibu, pointed on the Sonora. Drop point versus kind of a Morny style. On this guy, or I guess I think they call it a reverse tanto on the Malibu. Yeah, I could see a reverse tanto. Anyway, potato, tomato. Really nicely done, but just two different classes, I'd say, of overall knives in kind of milling and execution. There's quite a bit more going on this one, obviously, that it's an integral. Integral meaning one piece of titanium. Silky smooth action as well. Very consistent. That's what I always try to feel is when you drop the blade, I like when there's no differentiation, right? The detent doesn't roll across any surfaces. It's just consistent all the way down. And that's going to break in lovely over time. I should show you the other side. They are numbered because I said earlier 1456 is the serial on this particular one. I don't believe there's any that are going to be identical to this one because 1457 and 1455 will be two completely different knives. They'll be probably similar in that maybe they do the milling handle and then change the clip or change the bolster. But as far as this knife, it's kind of, they're all one-off mid-techs, right? Beautifully done, written on there, the stonewash, and I love that cut in the grind. Very nice. Now, the tip of this blade, it's how they do this grind. I'd love to know their reasoning because you can kind of see, they say it's a 20-degree angle. Oh, okay. I think I know why they're doing that then. So they're just maintaining the edge line for 20 degrees. That's cool. So you get a little bit more up top here, you can kind of see. And that's why the blade does not pinch in, right? The stock change remains the same all the way down. That would make sense. Well, I shouldn't say it remains the same, but it kind of just, it's more consistent. Flat top, obviously, so you can kind of get on here and go wherever you want. There's no jimping, which is rare these days. But as my YouTube colleague, Knife Nerdery, says, if the knife fits your hand correctly, you don't need jimping. And that's stuck with me, and I believe that. So quite nice, actually. Quite nice. It feels a lot more solid than the Malibu right away. You can notice that. In ergonomics, comfort level, no hot spot on that clip. Ooh. Then let's take a look on the inside as well. So remember earlier I was talking about how being integral, you can't really mill anything on the inside. So it's rare that you see any work done on the inside. Like I said, there are exceptions to the rule, but basically you'd have to come in from the top down or the bottom up if it wants to focus to get any material. So it's very hard to do and very expensive to make mistakes. So, you know, this one, as you can see, has been finely cut out all the way around, and there's not really a whole lot you would want to remove, but sometimes you do see little details that they pull stuff out somehow at a weird angle. Maybe they'll put it on its side like that, and they'll write stuff in on the inside, and then the programming on that must be really cool how they do that, but it's I've seen it. Cough, cough, Shirogorov. Loxa, cough. Really cool. One other really beautiful detail is, you know, being an integral, you don't really see another detail. the internally attached clips. Or I shouldn't say that. I should avoid that. I wish I could start fresh. You don't see clips that aren't externally attached, right? So how they get around that, because most clips, they try to drill it in from the inside with a screw, right? To kind of hide that hole on the clip, which is a nice little feature of a lot of mid-techs and a lot of modern knives. Well, this way they get around it by mounting it to the back. So that's why they drop it to the back, they wrap it around and screw it in. So it's still externally attached, but from a traditional look standpoint, it still kind of looks like it's internally attached. It's a nice little detail. I love that kind of stuff. So the other part of that is, well, guess what you can do with that if you're a lefty? You can probably, I'm just looking at this, I'm assuming you can flip that around and run the clip on the other side. Pretty easily, actually. So if you're a lefty, this might be the Malibu for lefties. And if we want to see that Malibu, how they attach it, I still have it here, so I just want to see how they attach their clip. I don't think you can flip it, so there you go. Yeah, it's externally attached inside the clip, but you flip it around, there's no screw holes for that, so that's a cool little feature. You don't see that all the time, but if you want to flip that, absolutely go for it. Being an integral, it should be dead center, and this is no different. Right? Can't really misalign a knife that can't be misaligned unless there's something in there or it's tensioned incorrectly. So perfectly center. And I love this little detail here, that Machinewise logo. So I guess it is big M, little w, because that would make sense. For that sticker conversation that was upside down, it's kind of the same logo, right side up and upside down. But I guess the M is the external, assuming that's the clocking that they wanted to do on this. So that's nice. And then they've got some material cut out on the back, which, you know what? Looking at this, it looks great. But I would have loved that to just be flush. Honestly, flush with some extra milling on top of that and the pivot there. Yes. So we got a balance. So that's probably why they had to remove some materials. They want it to be balanced in hand. But I don't know why. I just love integrals that are just fully wrapped on the back handle. I know it's more expensive to do this and it looks cooler like this. I just am a traditionalist. And if I grab that Shirogorov that I was mentioning earlier, case in point, you know what? Some of the best manufacturers in the world, they kept it fully wrapped on the back. So just keep that in mind. In terms of how this sizes up against some other ones, well, we did the Mojave already. I'll do it again real quick just to kind of familiarize yourself, and then we'll go down a quick selection of knives here. Just why not? I usually do this early, but I feel like I'm just in an order today that's not making a whole lot of sense. So we'll start with our usual kind of comparables. So we'll go Astrum, I guess, first. So longer knife, thin handle from Shiro. If you guys don't know and it's your first time on the channel, I like Shirogorov knives. They're kind of my baseline for a lot of other brands. We'll do an F95. This is a braces model. Not integral, but it's on bushings. So cool. I really think that's going to be one of my cooler knives of 2025 award. But I don't know. I can make up any award I want, given that this is a YouTube channel. So take that with a grain of salt. Stellar, probably the most comparable Shiro size that I currently have. The Neon's going to be a little undersized, and the new Neon is a little bit bigger than the old Neon. I have it here, but it's not a comparable price point wise. I'll show you with a grain of salt, and I don't want to be judged, guys. But there's your Neon Sprint Run. But you'll kind of see it is a longer knife than the previous gen, so you can kind of look at it and go, well, it's similarly lengthwise. Actually, it's a very fair comparable size-wise, but the handle's a little thinner up top, especially this area behind the pivot. I think the Stellar is more comparable, but lengthwise, I guess the Sprint Run Neon IX would be that. Let's get back into kind of the same space. The Grimsmo Rask. I think this is a version 1. I think they have a V2 now. Have yet to see that, but would love to. Actually, what I really want to see is their integral, the Grimsmo, is it called the Fell? F-J-E-L-L? Fell? I think, I've heard they're a lot smaller than they're kind of supposed to look on paper, so would love to see it. The Oz Roosevelt. Super classic, plain Jane tie, my style, kind of that radiator, or what are they calling that milling? I don't know what they're calling that milling pattern. Circular sound wave, bouncy milling, circular pattern. I think they're calling it radial milling. Sorry guys. I'm filming this very early in the morning for me, after a long night with a crying child. Let's go the Tri-Axis Midnight. There you go. Really cool knife as well. Kind of in that US made mid-tech space as well. It's supposed to be taking on the Rosie. You can order those in just about any configuration that you want. Pretty cool actually. I really like those. We'll do the Trevor Burger Urban. This is the smallest knife they do. As far as I know, I'm still trying to get my hands on an Urban XL, which I think is kind of more my size and style. But really cool nonetheless. I did an F95, did an Astrum, did a Stellar, did a Neon, so we don't need to do any more of that. We could do a Quantum. This is an E-Knives Quantum, just in case you want to see. It's more of an F95 size than anything, but just to see kind of the ergonomics, the handle layout, etc. We're going to do a small Sebenza here. There you go. And I'll grab a large Sebenza just in case we want to see that as well, because we all want to see a large Sebenza. Everybody loves large Sebenzas, and it's a classic drop point Sebenza 31. Really comparable size-wise as well. So there you go. And do we want to do a Zahn? I have the Zahn here. Let's do the Zahn. Zahn for life. Everybody needs a Zahn. If you only buy one Reeves, actually you need two. If everyone buys two, you need a drop point, Sebenza, large, and a Zahn, because they're just so cool. And if you're getting a drop point, large Sebenza, you know, maybe mix it up and get a Tanto on the Zahn. But I'm a drop point guy. I don't know why. I just think that just makes more sense to me, but who knows. And then one more quick one. We'll do the Benchmade Bailout, which is basically a bug out with a Tanto and an aluminum frame. But there you go. Super cool, right? Size-wise, a little smaller actually on that one. And that is going to wrap up the size comparison. And otherwise, what else do we see? So fit in hand, I'm an extra large glove, and it fits me perfectly. I've got just enough room to fit everything. Work gloves might be a little much. I don't think I'm going to add any more room wearing a work glove. But this is, to me, a really exceptional EDC. You know, this is doesn't matter. You could wear this with a suit, or have it with a suit. You can have it with jeans, etc. It's a good weekend knife. It's not going to be a heavy user, right? But you could absolutely get away with this thing in your pocket, and you're not going to really notice it. The button lock is well executed and well done, and the action's very smooth for an integral. And you know, I didn't really even talk about how they put it all together with big, thick hardware, Torx bits. Looks like it's like T15, quite large actually, which is how they get that high inch-pound torque rating. And then the milling, let's be honest, this video is not unique to the milling pattern because they change it up and do all kinds of different things, but this Diamonds milling pattern is very nicely done with kind of like a little bit down here. I don't know what you'd call that, micro milling, kind of like a just micro milled. Looks great. Same with up top here, the same pattern exists. Beautifully done. They've mirrored it on both sides. I really think this is a very well executed EDC integral, and right now in this price point, because I think they're right around $1,000 US table in the States, depending on configuration and clip and all that, but I think it's right around $1,000. It's kind of where they start. I'm trying to think who else is doing this space. So Grimsmo and the integral side on the Fell, but I think that's like $1,400. They're quite expensive, or 12, 13, somewhere in there. They're quite expensive comparatively. Yeah, there's not a whole lot in this integral space that's doing kind of that EDC Malibu-esque kind of vibe. So I think this is definitely in a unique space, doing a great job, well executed, silky, silky smooth, nice thick blade stock, dead center, on bearings. Like honestly, people are going to love these and have been, right? They're made now 1,456 plus of them, and they're going into the Mojaves. Geez, I think they're counting up quite low now in the hundreds. So yeah, really well received. People like them, and I understand it now. And this has taken me months to find one to bring in, and now I've got a handful of them in the store, and I don't expect them to last too long because they're hard to find. In Canada specifically, they're hard to find. So really nicely done. Really, really appreciated to get these. Okay guys, well I'm going to leave you at that. Appreciate you stopping by and checking out the Machinewise Sonora. Really, if you can track one down, certainly do so sooner than later. And otherwise, have yourself a fantastic week. Check out bladezilla.ca, the website, Instagram, TikTok. You're on YouTube, throw a thumbs up. It always helps. Monday and Thursday morning, 5 a.m. Eastern for a video. And what else? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Threads. Or just send me an email if you want to chat at Blades. I'm always available. 24/7, guys. So yeah, have yourself a great week. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comments. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one. Peace, guys.